Today I want to start with what here? Spring Boot, sir. But remember, I don't want to give direct knowledge on Spring Boot. First, we need to learn Spring also. We need to learn Spring. If you know Spring, then only you can understand the Spring Boot. So what is this? Spring is nothing but it is an application framework. If anyone says, what is Spring means, what will you say? It is an application framework. And Spring actually given by Interface 2. Which company gave? Interface 2 is a company who gave what is Spring, and Spring is an application framework. And using this Spring framework, we can develop any type of application. Any type of application, sir. Business-oriented application, any application we can develop. Okay, sir, we got an idea. So now that is the reason I'm giving the few points in front of you. So Spring framework is nothing but application framework. And this is the latest version came into the market, 5.3.9, or you can say 5.x version. It is the latest version. Who gave? Interface 2. Who is the creator? Rod Johnson. Rod Johnson is the main creator of Spring framework. And remember this point here. In this framework, we have two containers. One is Bean Factory container. Second one, application context container. You know very well. We completed recently servlets, JSP. In Tomcat server also, we have two types of container. Servlet container, JSP container. Similarly, Spring framework also contains two containers, Bean Factory container and application context container. And now what we need to do, if you want to learn Spring, sir, if you want to learn Spring, don't learn. If you are learning Spring, you are doing big mistake. You know, when I started my career with Hibernate. Nowadays, we are not using Hibernate. I started my career with Spring, but nowadays we are not using Spring. Means whatever I learned, wasted now. But now what we are using in the company is Spring Boot. Do you know why? What you want to do what you want to do by using Hibernate, same thing you can do by using Spring Boot. What you want to do by using Spring framework, same thing you can do by using Spring Boot. So tell me, which one is better? Learning separate Hibernate Spring framework is better, or learning only one Spring Boot is better? That is the reason. So if you want to learn the Spring framework, if you want to learn, don't learn. I'm telling you, don't learn. So you can go to tutorials point, Rose India, Java T point, dzone.com. These are some tutorials are there. You can learn from that tutorials if you want to learn the Spring framework. And if you want to learn the books, I can say Spring in Action. Spring in Action is a book. You know very well, when we were in engineering or degree, we go to Universal Bookstore in Koti, Mahindipatnam, Abbots. You can find what here? Universal Bookstore. And we will purchase the what? Books for learning purpose. Nowadays, what happened? You know, colleges are giving what? Books through library. Many people will take the what here? Books, they won't read, they will keep it. Understood my point here, no? And they won't give to others also. Friends, na? Friends forever it is. So what I was telling you, know, so suppose if you want to purchase any book personally, so you can buy which one? Spring in Action. Spring in Action you can take. Okay, sir. And this is the web download link. You do one thing, you just copy this one. You need to paste in the browser. Paste in the browser. And you can find what here, all the version from first version to last version. What is the last version? 5.3.9. Here you can find which version you want, you download, sir. You just click on that one. I need 5.3.9. Click. you need to download dist. First one. Click on that one. If you click, it will get downloaded. Wait here, it will get downloaded. Coming or not coming? But tell me, do you need this software? No, stop. I don't need, sir. Why, sir? We are not working with Spring. Then why are you teaching? To understand Spring Boot, we required knowledge on Spring. That's why I'm teaching. Understood my point here? No? So let's see this one now. Assume that when you are going for an interview, in interview, they will ask you one question. What is Spring Framework? So Spring is a non-invasive, sir. Non-invasive. Sir, I didn't understand, sir. Non-invasive means what? Assume that when we are writing a servlet program, whenever we are writing a servlet program, we need to do what? Extends with HTTP servlet class. Tell me, without extending HTTP servlet class, can we run servlet program? No. Understood my point here? No? So compulsory we need to write extends HTTP servlet. But in Spring, we don't have like this. In Spring, directly we are creating class. No extends, no implements. This is known as what here? Non-invasive. Understood my point here now? So any Spring class is not depend on any framework. Internal framework, it is not depend on any class. Framework class, it is not depend. Internally, it is not depend on any interface. Directly write class, finish. So that is the reason it is known as what? Non-invasive. Next is what here? Lightweight. Tell me, software it is getting download in fraction of seconds only, na? It is very lightweight, sir. It is lightweight. Size is very less. Size is very less. And whenever we install this Spring framework, it is having two containers. Those are in-memory containers. In-memory containers means they are RAM containers. Now tell me, if you need a servlet container, if you need JSP container, you need to install server. In server, we have containers. Server means it will take a lot of memory. But tell me, Spring framework, whenever you download a Spring framework, so Spring framework is in very lightweight, very less size. So, and it is also having some containers. Those containers are in-memory containers. They are RAM containers. So that is the reason they are known as what? Lightweight. So Spring is a non-invasive. Spring is a lightweight. Next is what here? Loosely coupled. Loosely coupled means, assume that I want to use only Spring to develop the project. Use only Spring to develop the project. I will use Spring with Hibernate. You can use Spring with Hibernate. Hibernate is for communicating with database. Sir, I want to use Spring with struts. Instead of JSP, earlier we used to work with struts for view layer, for presentation. So like this, it is loosely coupled. Means one framework is not depends on what? Another framework. And Spring is having modules. Spring is having modules. So one module is completely independent with another module. Means if you want to use one module, you can use one module. If you want to use two modules, you can use two modules. So that's why it is known as what? Loosely coupled, sir. It is not tightly coupled, loosely. If you want to use only Spring framework to develop project, use Spring. No, I want to use Spring and Hibernate, you can use Spring and Hibernate, like that. Next is what here? Dependency injection. Dependency injection means, I will tell you one real-time example. Assume that you came here for course. Once if you done with the registration, automatically they will give you slip, automatically they will give you ID card. So this is known as dependency injections. So when we are executing the program, our containers will give the values automatically. Understood my point here? Dependency injection means during the registration, once if you're done with the registration, immediately they will give you a registration slip, even they will give you ID card like that. That is your dependency injection. At runtime, all the values will come by the container. And next is what we have, aspect oriented. Sir, what's the purpose of aspect oriented? You know middleware services, right? Middleware services. Middleware services means what? Additional services, extra services like authentication, authorization, JDBC connection pool, transaction, security, malware production, firewall. All this comes under what here? Middleware services. So aspect oriented means using Spring framework, you can add middleware services, you can remove the middleware services from the application. Understood my point here? No? So that is the reason it is known as aspect oriented. You can add, you can remove. Open source, it is free. Do we need to pay any money? Huh? Java based application framework. In Spring, what code we are writing? Java code, which is used to develop all types of applications. So see, earlier what happened, you know, using Spring framework only we can develop all types of application. It is open source. It is an aspect oriented. It is a dependency injection. It is a loosely coupled. It is non-invasive. It is lightweight. So that is the reason everyone started working with Spring. Everyone started working with Spring, sir. Everyone. Understood my point here, no? Sir, using Hibernate, we can only develop those applications which is communicating with database. Using struts, we can create only those applications which is having presentation logic. But using Spring, we can develop all types of applications. So will you learn separate Hibernate, separate struts, or only you learn Spring? Only Spring, na? That's some internet issue came. But don't worry. We are learning Spring. Spring, that much is not important. So don't focus on Spring. We need to learn what? Spring Boot. I'm giving you overview idea. Okay, now online people, can you see me? Can you see my sheet, my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay. So now you can see here. The next question they will ask you, Array, can you please tell me how many modules are there in Spring? So remember, there are 6 modules are there in the Spring. So let me open here, Paint. So what is the first module is nothing but core module. We have a core module. Next we have AOP module. Which module? AOP module. Next we have DAO module and ORM module. DAO module and ORM module. Next we have JW module. Next we have MVC module. Next we have JW module and MVC module. So these are the what here? 6 modules are there in the Spring. Sir, what's the purpose of this core module? Core module is a base module. And using this base module, what we can do, we can generate bean objects. Setters and getters. We can generate beans. We can obtain containers, means we can call the containers. How many containers are there? 2 containers, bean factory container, application context container. So who will call those containers is nothing but core module only. So core module will create beans. Core module will call what here? It will obtain the containers. And core module only perform dependency injection also. Understood my point? If anyone says, what is core module? Sir, core module is a base module for all the modules of the Spring framework. Sir, core module is used to create bean objects. It is used to obtain bean containers, and it is used to perform dependency injections. Okay, sir, got an idea. Sir, what about AOP model? AOP module means aspect oriented programming. You know, Spring is a what? Aspect oriented, na? Aspect oriented, na? Aspect oriented programming means you can add the middleware services, you can remove the middleware services from the application. Suppose you are creating one application and you want to keep username and password, authentication. So that time you need to use which module? AOP module. With the help of AOP module, you can add middleware services. Next is what we have, DAO, data access object. See, a DAO module is a abstract layer on JDBC. Assume that already you have one JDBC project which is communicating with database. But in JDBC, there is a problem is there. In every JDBC program, we need to handle the exception. Throws exception, throws exception. In servlet also, we need to handle the exception. JDBC also, we need to handle the exception. So in Spring DO module, if you use, DO module says, don't use JDBC, use me. And I will convert a checked exception to unchecked exception. Here, you don't need to handle any exception when we are writing the code. Understood my point here now? So that is the abstract layer. So top of the JDBC. Who is the top of the JDBC? DO module. Next, we have what here? ORM. Object relational mapping. Object relational mapping means Hibernate. Hibernate is a ORM tool. iBetis. iBetis is a ORM tool. Sir, what is the difference between JDBC and Hibernate? JDBC will transfer the data in the form of variables, but Hibernate will transfer the data in the form of objects. JDBC will store the data in one database at a time. Hibernate will store the data in multiple databases at a time. In JDBC, our query is database dependent, but in Hibernate, our query is database independent. We can interact with any database. So tell me, JDBC is good or Hibernate is good? Hibernate is good. But remember, in ORM tool, what happened, you know, Hibernate will transfer the data in the form of object. But while transferring the data in the form of object, there are some drawbacks are there. Those drawbacks removed in ORM tool. So remember that point here. Spring is telling don't use Hibernate. In Hibernate, when you are transferring the data in the form of object, there are some drawbacks are there. Those drawbacks we removed in ORM tool. Next is what we have. JW. JW is used to develop middleware services. AOP is for adding and removing, but JW is for developing the middleware services. And next is what we have. MVC, Model View Controller. It is used to create a MVC based web application. So if you want to create one web application in the Spring, that time you need to use which module? MVC module. So total how many modules are there? 6 modules. So we have seen 2 questions. What is Spring? Spring is a non-invasive, lightweight, loosely coupled, dependency injection, aspect-oriented, open source, Java-based application framework, which is used to develop all type of applications. Second, we have seen how many modules are there in the Spring. 6 modules. What are those? Core, AOP, DO, ORM, JW, MVC. What is the difference between AOP and JW? AOP is used to add and remove middleware services. JW is used to develop the middleware services. So tell me, do we need to use JDBC or we need to use DAO? DO. Shall we use Hibernate or we should use ORM? ORM. Understood my point here now? And MVC is for developing MVC based web application. Okay, sir, we got an idea, sir. We got an idea about the Spring. About the Spring, I understood some knowledge. I got it. I got some knowledge about the Spring. You gave this. You gave this. So now what I need to do next, we need to see, explain a Spring MVC architecture. Why? Because why this is important for you, you know. Now focus here, the third question. Why I am telling these questions? Because I have seen in many companies, they are asking this type of questions only. And you know, it will take 5 minutes. Actually, class more, I will take 15 minutes. We will wind up. As I told you, it's 1 hour of class. It will not take more than 1 hour also. You understand the concept. It will look very small class. So see this. Now I need to explain what here? MVC architecture. See this? MVC architecture means we are learning which module? Which module? MVC module. Means if you want to develop web application, you know very well, using servlet and JSP also we are developing web application. But Spring is telling, array, if you want to develop any web application, you need to take the support of MVC module. So in MVC module, we should know that how our project is executing, how our application will execute. Yesterday, you know, Anil asked me question, sir, explain that MVC project, how it is executing. So that is the reason today also I will show you MVC architecture, how our project will execute in the Spring. JSP is different, Spring is different. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now. So I will give you one diagram to you. So diagram will explain to you everything, sir. Everything will explain to you. Focus here, everybody. So now you can see here, this is my diagram is there here. Assume that you created one application. Which application? Web application. MVC means what? Yes. Understood now? MVC means web application only. Remember that point. Now you focus. I am the end user. I develop my application. So definitely I will check. I will give the request. I am giving the request. I am giving the request to my application. So whenever I am giving the request, who is there here? Dispatcher servlet. In Spring, dispatcher servlet will come. Dispatcher servlet will take the request. But what happened in Spring MVC, in JSP? In JSP MVC, direct our request is going to controller. Nobody was there, dispatcher servlet. Understood the difference? So in JSP MVC, our request directly going to the controller, nothing but servlet or filter. But here, who will take our request? Dispatcher servlet. So dispatcher servlet will say, give me that request. We gave the request to dispatcher servlet. Now dispatcher servlet will get confused now. Dispatcher servlet will get confused. Array, I need to send this request to controller. But assume that you wrote 100 controllers. How many controllers you wrote? 100 controllers. Tell me, dispatcher servlet duty is forward your request to controller. But how many controllers are there? 100. One controller means he will forward to that controller. Oh, take. But 100 means he will get confused or not. So that is the reason it will take the support of handler mapping. So don't ask me tomorrow, what is this handler mapping, sir? Handler mapping means we are giving the request like this. http:// localhost. Assume that I am giving 2525 / I'm giving what here? Here I am giving, I am telling what here? employee/test or employee. What I gave here? Employee. So it has to go to employee controller. Suppose if I am giving the request http:// localhost, assume that 2525 Here I am giving student. So where it has to go? Student controller. Understood my point here now? So who will give this? Who will give this idea? Array, this controller means this controller. Array, this request means this controller. Array, this request means this controller. So who will help that one? Handler mapping. Handler mapping will check array, where it is matching. Employee matching or not in the program, it will check. Student matching in the program, it will check. If it's matching, it will tell to that request dispatcher, array request dispatcher, that controller is there in that classroom, go there. Understood my point here now? So handler mapping will inform to what? Dispatcher servlet, array dispatcher servlet, the controller which you need to send the request. Now he is there, you go and send the request there. So then dispatcher servlet will send the request to that particular controller only. But what is the rule of MVC? MVC rule is controller should display the data. Controller should display the output. No, controller cannot display the output. Controller will take the request, process the request, and it will send the output to JSP. JSP should display the output in browser. So what happened? Controller will, what it will do? Controller will say, array, my work is finished. Dispatcher servlet, my work is finished. Now what happened? Dispatcher servlet will get confused. Because he need to give the request to whom? View. But you don't know, we have multiple views. You have index.jsp, process.jsp, something welcome.jsp, second.jsp, first.jsp. Lot of views are available. So tell me where it will send the request. So it will take the support of view resolver. So he will say to view resolver, hey, view resolver, tell me to which view I need to send the data. So view resolver will tell, array, you need to send to index.jsp. So now dispatcher servlet will send the data to that view. View is displaying the output. Understood my point here now? Online people got an idea. What is MVC architecture? So tell me, first we are giving the request to whom? Dispatcher servlet. Dispatcher servlet will take the support of handler mapping to map the request. Handler mapping to map the request. Then it will send the request to controller. Controller will give the response to what? Dispatcher servlet. With the help of view resolver, dispatcher will send the data to view. View will send the data what? Response. See this here. After receiving an HTTP request, dispatcher server consults the handler mapping to call appropriate controller. The controller takes the request and calls the appropriate service methods based on the use get post method. This service method will set the model data based on, means it is having logic, sir, logic. What is this logic? Don't focus. I will explain what is service methods. I will explain in upcoming classes. You don't focus. Only the thing is controller will execute the logic. And next it will return view name to the what? So remember, it is giving only view name. Controller is not giving the output. Controller is giving only view name. Array, you need to send to index.jsp. But where index.jsp is available, dispatcher servlet don't know. So it will take the support of view resolver. View, with the help of view resolver, he will identify where that view is available. So request will go to the view. View is displaying the output. So same thing we have done here. So once view is finalized, dispatcher servlet pass the model data. All the data it will pass to the view, which is finally rendered on the browser. Means it will come in the output. Render means it will come in the output. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. With the help of we can identify. Now I understood MVC architecture. Because if I would be an interviewer, if you keep Spring Boot in your resume, I will ask, what is Spring? How many modules are there in the Spring? Can you explain MVC architecture? These three are widely used interview questions. Now, can you draw the diagram? Can you explain or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So I will repeat one more time. See here. First request is going to dispatcher servlet. Dispatcher servlet will take the support of handler mapping to identify the particular controller. Controller will give the view name. View name it will give. And dispatcher servlet will take the support of view resolver, and later it will forward the data to view. That view will display the data in the output. Okay, sir, we got an idea. Okay, now we got the knowledge on Spring. We got some knowledge on Spring. Now we will see one more interview questions. What is the drawback of Spring? Sir, today you are telling that we are working with Spring Boot, but earlier we used to work with Spring only. But why we are using Spring Boot? Why we are not using Spring? Tell me. Because important, na? Earlier we used to work with Spring only. Sir, don't use Hibernate, use Spring. Don't use struts, use Spring. Don't use JSP, use Spring. Don't use JDBC, use Spring. Everything we said Spring only. But today I'm telling, don't use Spring. Don't learn Spring. Learn Spring Boot. What is the reason? Why are you telling like this? Because Spring is having lot of limitations. So see the next topic, I will tell you limitations with Spring framework. So what are the first limitations is there? I will give you guys. See here. Suppose if I am working with Spring framework, sir, if I am working with Spring framework, assume that today you downloaded Spring. I gave you link. Oh, you downloaded. And assume that you are developing one MVC based web application. Do you know what happens? What happens? Here, we need to add jar files. What we need to add?
Jar files.
Jar files. Sir, in JDBC, one jar file. Sir, in servlet, one jar file. In JSP, one jar file. If you are communicating with database, two jar files. But in Spring Web, MVC based web application, we need to add 8 to 9 jar files. How many jar files? 8 to 9 jar files. Adding one jar file only, lot of errors are coming, lot of problems are coming. You people are not practicing. You are making up and down total advanced Java. Now tell me, adding 8877 jar files can you do? That is the first headache. Understood my point here now? In the Spring today, why we are not using? Because we need to add what? Jar files. But which is very number 7 to 8 jar files we need to add. That is the first drawback. Second drawback is what? You know, second drawback. Second drawback is user is responsible to do configuration. Who should do the configuration? For example, you go to the servlet. One servlet means one servlet mapping tag. Two servlet means two servlet mapping tag. Who is doing configuration? User is doing. Every time we need to do configuration. 10 servlet mapping tag. So here in the Spring also we have XML file only. Don't say web.xml file. Web.xml file is there in advanced Java. In Spring we have application context.xml file. Which file is available in the Spring? Application context.xml file. Here we need to do configurations, bean configurations, dependency injections. How many beans we are using? All beans we need to do configure. Beans means setters, getters. So everything we need to configure. We need to do configuration. We need to do configuration. Headache. Assume that I miss any configuration. Project will work. Application will work. No. Headache. Limitation. Next is what here? We need to arrange physical server also. Tell me, web application means we require server. Who need to install server? We. In advanced Java, who install server? We only, na? We arrange server. We arrange server. And remember, if you want to store in the database, We need to arrange what? Database, physical database. We need to arrange, we need to install, sir. This many drawbacks. Now tell me, if I am creating one Spring Framework project, web application, MVC application, if I am creating, I need to add jar file. I need to do configuration. I need to keep server ready. I need to keep database ready. So tell me, development will become faster or it will get slow? Development will get slow now. Development, is it faster? No, this is a drawback. This is a drawback. Our development will not become what? Faster. Our development will become slow, sir. Why? You need to wait for server ready. You need to wait for database ready. You need to wait for configurations. You need to wait for jar files. And doing this configuration, arranging the servers and database and adding the jar files, it consumes some time. So definitely your development process will go down. So to overcome this limitation only, Spring Boot came. Understood my point here now? Why Spring Boot came? To overcome these limitations. So in Spring Boot, what do we do? You know, what do we do? We will not add any jar file. So in Spring Boot, we have a starter. What we have? Starter. I will tell to the starter, a starter, I need this jar file. Starter will add. Understood my point here now? So what do? We will take the support of starter, and with the help of starter, we will add dependencies. What we will add? Dependencies we will add. Dependencies means what? Which jar file you want. Pom.xml file. Remember, Spring Boot is a Maven project only. Spring Boot means pom.xml file will come. So in pom.xml file, we need to add dependencies. So that dependency, who will add? Starter. So tell me, during the project creation, starter will come. Starter will ask, tell me how many jar files you need, how many dependencies you need. So during the project creation only, we will select the dependencies. And see the speciality. We don't have any XML file in Spring Boot. There is no XML configuration. In Spring Boot, we are using only annotations. What we are using? @ symbol. Only we will use annotations. And remember, it is having embedded database. Embedded database and server. You create Spring Boot. By default, server will come. By default, database will come. Understood my point here now? Now tell me, development become faster or slow? Faster. So that is the reason Spring Boot provides rapid application development for Spring Framework. Understood my point here now? So Spring Boot is giving what features? RAD features. If anyone says what is giving, tell them it is giving RAD features. RAD means rapid application development feature for Spring Framework. Why Spring Framework, sir? We are using Spring Boot, but internally Spring Boot use Spring Framework. Understood my point here now? So that is the reason now. So please understand one point here. So whenever we create a Spring Boot project, automatically we will get embedded database, attached database, embedded server. And in Spring Boot, what is available? Starter. So what starter will do? It will add dependencies. Where it will add dependencies? Pom.xml file. Why pom.xml file? Because every Spring Boot project is a Maven project. Maven project it is. And one more thing it is, we don't have any XML files, sir. Why? We have only what here? Annotations. And do you know speciality of Spring Boot? In Spring Boot, we are doing only minimum configuration. We are doing only minimum configuration. Why? Because I am telling minimum configuration, because Spring Boot is having only 2 files. Either we will use one at a time. We have application.properties file, or you can say applications.yaml file. So tell me, Spring Framework is having which file? Application context.xml file. Spring Boot is having how many file? 2 file. Application.properties, application.yaml file. So we will use any one file only. Don't use at a time. Any one file we are using. So remember that point here. In that file, we will do some minimum configuration. We are not doing maximum configuration. We are doing minimum configuration. Now you will understand my points. See this, in Spring Framework, developer is responsible to add dependencies or add jar files, performs configurations, arranging a virtual server, arranging a physical database to overcome this above limitation. Okay, limitations. We can overcome above limitations by using Spring Boot. So developer using Spring Boot uses Spring. So what is Spring Boot? Spring Boot is an open source Java-based framework developed by Pivotal team. So please remember, it's an open source, free. You don't need to pay the money. And it's a Java-based framework because we are writing Java code. And who gave this one? Pivotal team. Spring Framework is given by interface to Rod Johnson. But when it is come to Spring Boot, it is given by Pivotal team. And what it's giving? Spring Boot provides rapid application development feature to Spring Framework. Arrange Spring Framework slow development. So using Spring Boot, rapid application development. And Spring Boot is used to create standalone. Sir, I didn't understand. Why are you telling that Spring Boot is used to create standalone? Why? Because standalone means every Spring Boot project having main method. Every Spring Boot project is having main method. Any program which is having main method is called what? Standalone. And production grade. Production grade means that application ready for production. Because it is already having server, it is already having database, it is having less configuration. So that is called what? Production grade Spring based applications with a minimum configuration. I told you where we will do configurations in Spring Boot, application.properties file or application.yaml file. There we will do minimum configuration. But in Spring Framework, we need to do maximum configuration. Here only minimum configuration. So indirectly, Spring Boot is a combination of Spring Framework, embedded server, embedded database. Assume that you went for an interview. In interview, they will ask you one question. Can you tell me what are the embedded servers provided by Spring Boot? Tomcat, Jetty, and Tau. These are the embedded servers it is giving. What are the embedded database it will give you? H2, HSQL, Derby. These are the databases it will give you. So please remember that point here. Till now we know Oracle database, Tomcat server only. So now you can see Tomcat, Jetty, and Tau, H2, HSQL, Derby. These are the databases are here. So which database you want, you can take that database. Which server you want, you can take that server also. But mostly we are using Tomcat server. In database, we will use H2 database. Understood, everybody? Online people got an idea what is Spring Boot?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now. So don't worry. Now we will see one more advantages of Spring Boot. Then we will develop the first program. You people will laugh. Really, you people will laugh by seeing the first example. And if you didn't practice now, don't come to the next class. Why? Because automatically you will not come. I should not tell that one. Automatically you will not come. So see here. Now one thing I want to tell you. As I told you that in Spring Boot, there is no requirement of We don't have any XML. Everything replaced by what? Annotations. We don't have any XML file. We are working with annotations. Okay, now we will see the advantages. Advantages are very, very important. After that advantages, I will develop the first program. We will wind up the class. I will wind up the class. Project creation is only 2 minutes. Maggie will also not be ready. I'm telling now that much easy we can develop the project. So see here, advantages. Assume that what is the advantage? Why we should use Spring Boot? It creates standalone. Sir, if you go and check a Spring framework, this is a Spring framework. Sorry. This is a Spring framework. Which module is there? MVC. MVC module does not have main method. So Spring framework does not contain main method. They are not standalone. But see the speciality of Spring Boot, every project is a standalone. Every project will have main method. So that point I'm telling, it creates standalone Spring application. See, one thing is there here. Java-jar means you can convert. Assume that I am creating one advanced Java project, sir. Advanced Java project. I will open the Eclipse. In Eclipse, we created yesterday. See, everybody, I'm opening the Eclipse. I didn't tell yesterday, but I am telling now. Now I am telling this one. Let me open the Eclipse. Our Eclipse we are opening. Give me 5 minutes, not more than that one. We'll start the project 2 minutes, finish. Total 7 minutes. So see this, I started one Eclipse now. So tell me, this is my project. Assume that JSP AP1 is project. So what Advanced Java is telling, array, if you want to keep this project in the server, you need to convert into var file. What we need to convert? Var file. Var file is a single file. And single file only we need to keep in the server. Don't take folders. Don't keep folders in the server. Understood my point here now? Sir, how to convert our project to var file, sir? You can do right click. You can do what here? Export. Export, what is there here? Val file. Click on this one and choose the location. Browse. Where I want? Desktop. Save. Finish. Now you come down. And now you can see here JSP app1 var file. And this var file I need to give to the what? Server. Understood now? So every advanced Java project we can convert to var file. But Spring Boot says no var file. No var file. Convert means jar file. Understood my point here now? Spring Boot is telling don't convert me in var file. Convert me in jar file. So what we do, if jar file is there, jar files we can use in other projects, in other applications. Understood my point here now? So those jar files, we can execute by using what command? Java-jar. So whenever you type Java-jar, that jar file will execute. Means you will get the output. So that only you are telling here, you are creating one standalone application, and that standalone application we can run by using that command. Next is what we have? It provides production ready features. Production ready features means you can check what? Metrics, health checks, external configuration. See, in Spring Boot, there is some dependencies we need to add. If you add those dependencies, you can do health check. Health check means you can check, it's working or not working. Is it giving proper response or not proper response? So like that, we can do that. It is a production ready features it is giving. These features, metrics, health checks, externalized configuration, it is there in production environment. In company, we have development environment. From development environment, it will go to production environment. So every Spring Boot provides production ready features. That features we are getting in Spring Boot. Next is what here? It increase productivity by reducing the what? So more we are focusing on development instead of what? Writing the code. So outputs are more coming instead of writing more, sir. Next is what here? It offers number of plugins. Lot of plugins are available. There is no requirement for XML configuration. What is available? Starter. Starter will add dependency in pom.xml file, na? And it tests the web application by using which server? HTTP server like Tomcat, Jetty, Undertow. We don't need to deploy the WAR files. So Spring Boot is telling, array, don't convert into WAR file, don't keep in the server, don't run the server, don't test the application. Without converting the WAR file only, you can run the project, you can see the output. Understood my point here now? So next is what here? One more thing is there. It offers CLI, command line interface. This is for testing the Spring Boot application. CLI tool. CLI tool is for testing the Spring Boot application. And here we are not testing right now anything. Suppose if you want to test the application, we need to use CLI. Tell me, how do we test the web application? By using what? Servers. So do we need to convert into WAR files? No, we don't need to convert in WAR files. So these are the what here advantages. And even I can say it is also minimize the writing multiple boilerplate code problem. Boilerplate code problem means you are not writing same code for multiple times. Understood my point here? No? For example, you go to JDBC, class.forName, connection, class.forName, connection. That is known as what? Boilerplate code problem. Same code you are writing in multiple places. So Spring Boot avoid that boilerplate code also. So with less number of lines only, we are achieving the output. So ready now, everybody? Okay, now. So now I will give you one more interview question, then we will start the project. Components of Spring Boot. Suppose if you want to learn the Spring Boot, what you should learn? First one, auto configuration. Remember, Spring Boot follows auto configuration. So every configuration will be done by Spring Boot only. We should do only minimum configuration. Understood my point here, no? So tell me, what is the first component of Spring Boot? Auto configuration. So Spring Boot only will do all configurations. We should do only minimum configurations. It supports what? Starter is also one component, which is adding the dependencies in pom.xml. Next we have what? CLI. With the help of CLI, you are testing the Spring Boot application. Nah? Even it supports actuators. Using actuators only, we are getting production ready features. Production ready features means matrix, health check, externalize configurations that we can achieve with the help of what? Actuators. So please remember. So learn auto configuration, how the Spring Boot will do auto configuration. Learn what starter will do. Learn what CLI will do. Learn what is actuators will do. These are the 4 components in the Spring Boot. So remember, today we covered how many interview questions? What is Spring? Next is what here? Modules in the Spring. What is Spring Boot? Sorry, limitations of Spring framework. What is Spring Boot? Advantages of Spring Boot. Components of Spring Boot. And Spring MVC architecture also. Now we can see here, next question they will ask you. In how many ways we can create a Spring Boot project? Tell them, sir, if I want to create a Spring Boot project, Spring Boot projects we can create using 2 ways. One, using IDEs. IDEs means STS ID or IntelliJ. IntelliJ we can use, otherwise using Spring Initializer. So any of Spring Initializer we are not using. It is not good. We need to develop our project by using IDs. Which ID I want to download? Your wish. If you want to download STS, download STS. No, sir, I want to download IntelliJ. You can download IntelliJ. And remember, STS stands for Spring Tool Suite. Spring Tool Suite This ID is specially designed for Spring framework, Spring Boot framework, and it is Eclipse based only. Eclipse based means if you open this STS ID, it looks like an Eclipse only, but specially designed for Spring. So see here. So STS Spring Tool Suite is a ID to develop Spring application. It is an Eclipse-based development environment. It provides ready-to-use environment to implement, run, deploy, and debug the application. Okay, sir. So what we should do now? So we need to download STS ID now. So see this. This is the what your link, copy. Today everyone should download this. And remember, from now onwards, take 16 GB RAM. If you take 8 GB RAM, your system will get slow. Hang, slow, it will work. Click, wait. Click, wait. Like that you need to process. If you have 16 GB, then it will work fast. Okay, so now I am taking STS, copy. Now I am going to paste. Here, focus here. Now I am pasting. When I paste that link, I will download one STS ID, Spring Tool Suite. It is getting open. Spring Tools. You come down, sir, come down. And you can see here, which one we need to select? Windows. It is Eclipse based only, na? It is Eclipse based. Click on Windows. Click on Windows. Wait here, internet fast. So tell me, it is coming with what file? Jar file. My project is coming in. Sorry, STS ID is coming in jar file. So what you need to do? You need to extract. You need to do extract. You do one thing, you do right click. 1 second. So tell me what is telling? WinRAR. You can select what? WinRAR. You do extract, sir. You do extract. So let me go to the what here? Downloads. Go to the downloads. I need to select Spring Tool Suite. Is it jar file or not? Right click. What I want to do? Extract files. Extract files, you select which location? What you need to click? Okay. Once if you click OK, you can find here, I already extracted. Yes. Which is the folder came? STS 4.17.0. Open that one. This is your Spring Tool Suite. But what you need to do? Right click. What you need to do? Create shortcut. Then you need to do what here? Cut. You need to do what? Paste on the desktop. Paste on the what? Desktop. So shortcut is there or not there here? Understood my point here now? Everybody understood how to install STS. Today install STS and see the first program. You people will laugh. As I told you, it will not take more than 2 minutes. So see this, I will open that one. Let me open STS. So whenever I open this STS Spring Tool Suite, it will ask for workspace location. It is also asking for workspace location. We need to select workspace location, na? Yes. So let it be open. I told you 16 GB RAM is required from now onwards. Otherwise, you cannot practice in 8 GB RAM laptop also. So now you can see here, I will go to the what? Browse. I will go to the location E drive. I have training. Which batch? 15th batch. Here I will take what here? Here I will create one folder, Spring Boot. In the Spring Boot, I will create one more folder, STS Workspace. Some folders, for folder you select enough. So tell me where it is there in the Spring Boot launch. I'm just selecting the location. You click OK button, no problem. Because I need to deal with lot of batches. So workspace location is matter for me. You people click OK button. It will store in C drive automatically. If you don't need C drive, you shall select the location. Okay, now you can see your STS is getting open now. First program is very simple, sir. See this, it is looking like an eclipse or not? And remember, you required good internet. If internet is there, then only project will be created. Otherwise, project will not be created successfully, output will not come. You will come, output will not come. So see this, what we need to do? Create new Spring starter project. Starter project we need to create because starter only will add dependencies. So I need to create new Spring starter project. So now you need to give the project name. So let me give you here as per my notes. As per the notes I told, did I give anything? No. Okay, leave it. So now what we need to do? We need to create the project. Here I will create first SB. First SB. SB means what? Spring Boot. First Spring Boot. Here I want to select Maven project. Which project? Which version? 8 version. Java 8 only, na? In your system, what is available? Use that version only. We are packaging to what? jar file. Which language? Java. What is your group ID? com.ihub.www. What is my project name? Yes. First demo project. Here also I am giving com.ihub.www. Understood my point here now? Everyone ready? So like this we need to do, sir. Maven projects only, same. Now what we need to click? Next. Now see this. This is known as what here? Starter. Starter is asking, Arey, do you need any dependency? I will say, no, this is my first program. No, nothing. So what I will do? Next. Finish. Over. Project creation over. So tell me, it's a very big deal. Huh? You people will not practice this project also. I will give you guarantee tomorrow. Who is having time, sir? Morning to evening here only. After going also, we should practice. Huh? Who will see IPL? You are thinking like that. So now you can open, see this, see this. Let me open the project. See this, let me open the project. Enable edition. Okay, now you can see here. Here service is going on. Background you can see red, green color. Can you see down? Yes, sir. Don't touch. If green color coming, don't touch. Otherwise your project will not be created successfully. Now go to the what here? First Spring Boot. Expand the project. Click expand. What is the first one? Java main. Go to Java main Java. Go to this main Java. Click. What is the package? com.ihub.www. Expand. What is that? First Spring Boot application. Open that. Open that one. Yes, we got it. Main method is there or not there? Main method. Sir, increase the font. Window, preferences, same like Eclipse. Preferences, general, appearance, color and fonts, basics. Here I can set text font. I want 16, bold. Click OK, apply, close. Now it is become big, double click. Now what I am doing now, inside the main method, I will write sys out. Okay, I will write sys out and I will write here, I love Spring Boot programming. And tell me here which annotation is available? Spring Boot application annotation is available. So what is this annotation? I will explain tomorrow. So tell me how many lines I am writing in my project? One line. You will not practice this also. So see this, what we should do. Now we need to do right click, run as Spring Boot. Run as what? Spring Boot. Run as Spring Boot. So see this. What is coming? I love Spring Boot Pro. Finish. First project over. Very tough. Tough, huh? Theory, don't focus on theory, sir. Today is the first class. Theory will look very tough. But if you see the code, if you see the first project, coding is easy in the Spring Boot, sir. So anyhow, you come to the next class. Next class, I will show you how to create a JSP page also. So I don't want to written SOP. I will tell to JSP, you write, I love Spring Boot programming. Understood my point here now? Here I am telling. But now what I will do? I will tell to JSP, you tell. So JSP will tell tomorrow, don't worry. And after that, you people should also say the same. Understood? Online people got an idea? Can you develop this first example?
Yes, sir.
And as I told you,
Yes,
those who
sir.
came today, they only will come tomorrow. They only will continue the course. So please understand, in the real time, in the companies, we are using Spring Boot only. More clarity will come tomorrow's class. So only focus on practical implementation, and whatever the theory questions I gave it to you today, try to learn and try to update yourself. We'll meet in the next session. We'll continue where we stop in the today's class. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everybody. We'll meet in the next class. Thank you.